All right, everyone, it's time for political mythologies, various follies, and fairy tales, like the fairy tale of the Democrats tossing Biden in August. Link in the description, archived, of course, saying, well, it's not too late for an August surprise. Maybe they'll toss Biden out and they'll get a different candidate. I've tried to explain to the Democrats, you are your own worst enemy if you do something like that. Biden is likely to lose re-election in 2024. He's behind Donald Trump in virtually every swing state. He's behind in virtually every general election poll, at least the reliable ones. He's even coming in not far beyond 50-50 in Maine, Virginia, and Minnesota. He's probably going to get crushed, but you will get crushed if you toss him out. I'm giving free advice to the goddamn liberals, and I don't like Biden. I've made that clear. I give him a 0 out of 10 for his presidency. Politically speaking, though, it would be just shy of goddamn suicide to cast him out in August. You've got, therefore, a couple of months to groom a new candidate who won't have the will of the average Democratic voter because they've already cast their ballot generally for Joe Biden, and to try to mint somebody else. You can't count on RFK. He's running as an independent. So let's look at the roster of likely Democrats who could displace him if you choose to force Joe Biden out. Number one, and most obvious, heir to the throne, Kamala Harris. Yeah, that's going to go over really well. She'd lose. 100% chance. Trump wouldn't even need to be the Republican nominee. He could croak and get replaced at the last minute by Marco Rubio and he'd win. Kamala Harris can't debate. She's not coherent. She's not likable. She's got a small, ingrained cult of personality, and she's a DEI hire to juxtapose off of the old white dude, and that's basically the only reason that she's here. So that sounds like a bad idea, and the problem is if you force Biden aside and she's not willing to stand down, oh boy, you'd be stuck with her. She's a black female, of course, and so you can't throw her off the ticket because she's the VP and because she ticks all of the grievance boxes, and the Democratic Party would probably collapse if you tried to force her out. They'd have to bribe her to get her to stand down. Let's see, Gavin Newsom. Well, there's one that's talked about a lot. He's from a deep blue state, and he's absolutely wretched, and he has alienated himself with independent voters with both his violations of his own lockdown restrictions, you remember with the French Laundry, as well as the state of California itself literally decrepitating at the moment. I don't think that translates well to grabbing up swing states like Georgia or Virginia or maybe New Hampshire. I think that he'd lose. What about Gretchen Whitmer? Oh, shit, that's right. There's a sheriff running in that state, entrapped under the kidnapping plot, and she's sullied by that for the rest of her political career. The odds are that the best candidate you could put forward is Buttigieg. That's the irony. The transport secretary, Buttigieg, would probably... Former mayor of South Bend, the most mimetic name for a mayor of his quality in existence. The jokes write themselves on 10 different levels with him. He would be probably the strongest replacement candidate that you could find at this time. And you're not going to feel... Who else are you going to field? Al Franken? Drag him out? Yeah, that'll go over well. Auga. There is nobody to replace Biden. The problem is if I look at the Republican Party, and again, as a non-Republican, a non-conservative, I don't have any loyalty to the GOP. I don't fucking care about the GOP. If anything, sometimes they're worse than the Democrats, especially the unipartyist types like the Bushes and the McCains. They like to start wars and raise taxes on the little guy while they favor large corporations. They're a mess. And they love to lose, by the way, so I can never be a Republican because I prefer victory. I don't like losing. I'm not masochistic. That ain't one of my kinks, dude. Apparently, they didn't get the memo about being normal human beings, rational and sane. Look, I can look at the Republican Party right now, and I can name a bunch of names that if Trump were to drop dead tomorrow, could carry the banner. I've got Tulsi Gabbard. She was a former Democrat. Now she's GOP. She could carry it. I would have said Kristi Noem up until a few weeks ago. She is her own worst enemy. She's out, so count her down. Elise Stefanik. You could have one of Trump's kids, Eric or Don Jr. They're both old enough. They're well-spoken. In theory, as a stand-in, they could front themselves. That would be a replacement that the core MAGA voters definitely would accept. That's most of the party, so the GOP might not be able to stop it. You've got others as well. Rubio would be one of them. He has redeemed himself, generally speaking. Do I think that he's dedicated solely to populism? No. He's more like a Ted Cruz middling individual, but it would pass the sniff test for a lot of people. You've got others as well. There's a roster of people who potentially could run. I would like Rand Paul. I want him to run in 2028. I'm hoping he does that. If not, give him the Senate leadership. I think that's a great idea. You got Massey and some of these other individuals. You have people that are talented. Luna, President Luna, sounds pretty good. It'd be nice to have a hot president for a change, as opposed to a gerontocracy. But there's nobody on the Democratic side. Who are you going to replace him with? It would be a terrible idea. And by the way, it's a complete astroturf. Some of these legacy media types, they realize that Biden is coming in steadily behind Donald Trump, and so they want him to stand down. But the alternative is worse. The alternative of Joe Biden standing down, for him to stand for office, and he's raising money, he's holding rallies, he's holding fundraisers, his name is on the ticket, he's officially told you that he intends to seek re-election. You can't force him to the side. If he goes into the convention and he stands down and says, yeah, I know that tens of millions of people voted for me in the primaries. I know that I'm who you want to be your candidate. But, I'm tired. I'm going back to Rehoboth Beach to go have another prune smoothie and a bran muffin and have another good bowel movement till I die. If he does that, it will collapse the Democratic campaign, because there's nobody waiting in the wings. There's no indicator so far that anyone is sort of being groomed up to immediately take over should Joe Biden stand down, because there's no will to remove him. We had a piece not more than a month ago by OMG Media, James O'Keefe's people. He dyed his hair blonde and put on Groucho Marx glasses and was talking to one of the heads of cybersecurity in the goddamn White House itself. And the dude thinking he was on a gay date. He didn't know that it was James O'Keefe somehow, and I find that amusing beyond all measure. It's almost as funny as the goddamn Chaz Guard, and they were like literal Groucho Marx glasses. The dude was taken in completely. This is one of the higher level officials, by the way, in the tech realm of the current administration. This is not some low-level staffer that makes minimum wage. This is a person with some credentials. And he stated outright, yes, we're not enthused by Joe Biden, but he's obviously going to be the candidate. And we did talk about throwing Kamala under the bus and getting her off the ticket because she pisses people off. But we can't do that because she's black and female and we've got a bunch of leftists that we need to vote for us. He already told you. This is somebody in the know. We can determine that he has literal meetings with the upper brass of the military and with Biden and Kamala and people like that. He told us flat out, and didn't get nearly as much attention as it should have gotten, by the way, that particular piece. OMG Media, sometimes you give disproportionate attention to something that's like, okay, but we already knew that, but then you have something really juicy like this. It's like getting a whole pile of medium rare ribeyes, no offense to Razor Fist, and then you won't even eat it. Or it makes no sense. If they toss him in August, they're nuts. They probably won't. I'd be very surprised if he stood down at the convention or if he was forced to sign, because all of the alternatives somehow are worse. You've got a couple of Democrats who might be able to carry the torch into battle, so to speak, Buttigieg among them. They don't even seem really inclined to do so. No, they've circled their wagons around Little Joe. I mean, he'll probably lose, but imagine how much of a margin you'll lose by if you choose somebody else. If you really decide to take up the banner of chaos candidacy, when you're trying to cast Trump off as the chaotic one, he's breaking the toys and whirlwinding around and has no clue what's going on, he's all incoherent, fucked up. If you choose to very, very visibly and very publicly give your own party that moniker, is it going to go well for you in the election? If people do want sanity, they want the adults back in charge yet again, and not the slow adults this time, why would they vote for Gretchen Whitmer? Why would they vote for Gavin Newsom? The strategy doesn't even make sense. I've never really understood it. The alternatives are worse than Biden. Biden is not likely to be crushed in the election. I think he loses 5 of the 6 competitive states, and probably Maine, Virginia, or Minnesota, one of them are picked off too, and Trump wins by a significant margin. But you will end up with a Trump landslide if you choose to transfer him out at the 11th hour. August is pretty late in the game. Summer begins to end. You're going into fall. The election is in November, dude. You're giving, 70 days worth of campaign time to a new candidate with some of the ballots already in and inked anyway. You'd get crippled. You'd get your legs broken backwards. It makes no sense whatsoever. That's about all. Peace out.